Welcome to the Dynasty podcast. We have Cock and Balls, Mr. McLovin here, joined as always by your host, Mr. Sehan, talking in the third person already. Good start. We're back at it, Ben and I, 3 weeks in a row. Feeling good about this. We're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming auction in a couple weeks, highlight some of the key players available and maybe a little bit of strategy, and just have a good back and forth. Ben's going to handle the IDP pieces. I'm going to handle the offense. Play to our strengths. Ben, how are you doing? What are we doing here? You get one compliment on a T-shirt. Now you're going to pull out a T-shirt every time, or what?
Well, no. What do you mean? Somebody? Oh, you mean yeah? But that person in chat, I give NFT advice. That's why I got the compliment on that T-shirt.
Oh, Mike Sorgan, I think.
Yeah, him and I, we talk shop. Any of y'all want to talk shop in NFTs? Come over to Mr. McLovin. I'll make your dreams come true. Actually, I'm not going to make any dreams come true. I'll just give you not financial advice. That is financial advice.
Yeah, if anybody wants to be an expert in NFTs, Ben owns a few decent ones.
Yeah, I'm not probably the expert.
He just knew everything about the market. Was way ahead of everybody else, and is a winner because of it. So some of us are big time losers.
I sense sarcasm there, Corey, but you fucking know I was in that shit before anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, it pays to be hanging out in the little chat rooms.
You mean like the BC chat that you're constantly frothing your mouth over?
Listen, I can take a good dick joke every once in a while, but I don't need to, log in for my 15, minutes a day or whatever and see running conversation about oral pleasure on men. And, I think we could tone it back.
So here we go. I didn't even see that one. You're ahead of me in the game on that.
Come on,
you are
man.
you are a chat troll. I love it, Corey.
Didn't we learn anything from the whole Wayne Levi situation last year? It's like let's just.
Is it that bad? Do I have to go fucking look at this? People got to get put on timeout.
Like if your jokes are that much of a layup and that's all you got in your repertoire, like pick something different. Like be fun. I like Fleece. Fleece always keeps me interested because he's dropping some poetic stuff in there. He's got this long-standing character. The college grad or the college student that's poor. Like I like that stuff. But like when you're
already fucking this podcast up, Corey. Everyone was complaining that we're kissing too much ass and weren't talking enough shit. Fuck Fleece, fuck Wayne, fuck Georgia, fuck everybody. That's what you guys want to hear, right? Too much ass kissing, too much talking about how good everyone's picks are. Well, I'm gonna fucking talk shit now. You guys win. I'm fucking fired up.
I'm fine with the talking shit, bro. I'm fine with the talking shit. I think
no, we don't need
we don't need bullies. We don't need people bullying other people, and we don't need layup jokes that are just, from archaic time periods from like 1980.
Almighty.
Let's be better.
I can't even chime in because I don't even know what was said. Can we talk about something else? It probably wasn't that bad. Was it that bad?
It's not that bad. It's just like it's repetitive and just like unnecessary. I think.
Did somebody call somebody gay?
What was the it's not that. It's just like whatever.
I'm not that sensitive. Yeah, I will say that we've seen a lot of chats in a lot of rooms, all the way since the AOL dial-up days. So don't worry about it, Corey. We'll all be fine.
18 male Abercrombie and Fitch model. That was my go-to.
Wow.
Just laid it out there. Had the headshots to match, baby.
Explains a lot right there.
Boy, I was honestly, quick story here. I was probably one of the first original people to ever get catfished. I was in love with a 250-pound woman from Washington. I lived in Iowa at the time. I spent probably over $450 on calling cards. Was definitely
what? Is this a true story?
Yeah, freshman year of college. Bear 9339 was in love with her. Would not date anybody else. Long distance relationship. Only seen one picture from the waist up. Wasn't actually her. This is all you had was a scanner. We would have phone sex all the time. I mean, my wife knows this story too. It's just, it's actually comical because I wanted to be in love so badly. And, you know, I had slim pickings in the Midwest. I'm not going to lie. Carol said, you fall in love with this dream of this person that's very good. She's probably must have been like 30, 40 at the time, you know, and just
Well, was it a guy or was it?
No, I talked to her on the phone. I mean, we're talking on the phone nonstop, bro. Like, I mean,
you had a little herky jerky.
Oh, she would tell me what she was wearing. It was, I mean, full on for 6 months. I finally said, I'm coming. I'm in college. I'm like my sophomore year at this point. I'm like, I'm coming there to see you, or this is over. And she goes, you can't come to see me. She goes, Corey, she's like, I'm 275 pounds. And listen, I'm not discriminating on folks that are a little bit overweight. But
Shame on you.
That was not what she was telling me when she was whispering into my phone.
Shame on you, Corey. You should have fell in love with her for who she was. How many years was this?
It was probably over the course of a year, you know, like
in college, yes.
Like in the college, as a college athlete, full scholarship, like prime of my life here.
Sorry, cheerleaders, you can't have this sweet dick. I'm saving it for Husky Washington.
The ridicule, and she tried to get me into a pyramid scheme at some point too. I think a lot of. I think I wrote.
Really?
Yeah, it was. I wrote a short story about it. I think I'll have to
write a novel.
Fuck, yeah, I have one of those in the works. By the way, I've been working really hard over the last.
And you know what? I'm going to sit up for this. I'm going to get a little more professional, Corey. I didn't know you were going to bring that type of content. I didn't know it was going to get this good. Well, so I got to get my fucking A game on.
Yeah,
I got. I don't know. I probably have an equally embarrassing story. No, no way I have that.
This is 1999, 2000.
Pretty good. So yeah, the catfishing was not coined at that point. I would say at least it was a chick that would have, you know.
Well, I made sure that
I guess it wouldn't have mattered. If you're being deceived, you're being deceived, right? Manti Te'o's entire career was derailed over it. So that guy should have been a beast, and you know, he never recovered.
I'm telling you, it happened quick, and I had no idea. I was a full-on believer. It was, but then I moved on. You know, it is what it is. It's like, but now that I think back on it, I'm like, wow, how manipulative and how crazy this lady must have been, and how lucky she must have felt to be, you know, living her fantasy through me. You know, just like a real life person that was actually telling her the truth about who I was, right? It's a sickness, you know. It's a sickness that people do that, and it's
well, you know what, Corey, I draw the line when you tell me that sick people are trolling on the internet. It's just not true. Everyone's really quality.
Well, now it's stupid people that fall for it, right? Like if you watch the Catfish show, like there's a way of proving and
there's
not going down that train.
There's a show over catfishing.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff. Like I watched 90 Day Fiance too, and some of these people get catfished by a Russian. I mean, I'm an interesting character. I like fantasy football.
I'm an interesting character.
Yeah.
You know what? No judgment here. No judgment here.
Yeah. Have a field day with this one, guys.
I threw up, dude. I mean, this is going to every single. This link to this is going to every single person in our in my contact list. I'll tell you that.
I have no problem. I have no problem sharing my history. You know, I'm an open book.
Hey, man. And I'm not judging. I just think it's fantastic and fascinating, and we should be a hot topic of discussion when you come down in July.
Well, be on the lookout for Corey's first novel. Should be hitting in about a year. That's what my goal date is, to have it finished. We'll have a lot of Costa Rica in there, a lot of stuff from
Hey man, Corey, you're a good writer, but wow, I'm giving you compliments all over the place. But I'm gonna do a little shameless plug for one of my best friends from my hometown. Him and his wife quit their day jobs, and what they do now is they go and their company is taking ordinary people who have like what they think is ordinary life stories, but is actually extraordinary. Right. So like everyone's life story actually is interesting, probably if it's told in the right light.
Correct.
And so basically they'll take, okay, do you have something? Do you want, like, people who want to just put their life on paper, right? Yeah. But they kind of put it in a way that makes it, you know, they edit it.
Yeah, there's roadblocks, right, for the normal person to.
Well, they just interview them and then they basically write a book about it. right? And it's a
Yeah.
really interesting idea. So, and then they
like
put
it.
it on
Put me in touch with
Amazon
them.
and stuff like that. I
Put me
will
in
for
touch.
sure.
Yeah.
Johnny, I think you met Johnny.
No, I would love to talk to him. I think I would like to do like a short documentary at some point of like some way better. Like I can write really well, like, but it's just the time constraints of doing it is
Yeah.
really
No, that's the
difficult.
thing. They'll just do some Zoom things. They'll interview, talk about like, so they did it with our friend who passed, dad. He was a military underwater diver.
Oh, cool.
So it's like this whole exploration thing where
Yep.
it's a really, he has a fascinating story that you would never read and you would never take the time to write a book.
Yeah.
But now his story is a book and it's online in Amazon. You can buy it.
Every time I read a book, I get more confident in my ability to write. It's just the sitting down and doing the work. But I'm dedicated to it now, and I think I have a good story to tell, and I think everybody would agree with that knows me. So we'll figure it out from there. But anyway, back to the cock and balls jokes and the fantasy football knowledge that we're all here to. Ben and I are here to drop on you folks. Today, I'm going to bring up my shared screen right away. Get Ben off this screen as quickly as possible.
Yeah, but it doesn't get me off. I sit right next to your silly face on the side. I saw that last time.
I'm going to talk about the offensive positions and just go through my a little bit of research here that I did. For
what, the free agent auction we're doing, Corey?
Correct. Yep. Ben knew about what the agenda was a week ago, I think, when we did our last podcast, and still failed to do any research. But he says
that's not true. I've been fucking drafting and fucking studying for the blue chip auction. Like, man, I am nonstop preparing, Corey. This is insulting to me. Just because I don't need to take notes and have a cute little Excel sheet like you do, and I have to be organized so I don't fuck it up, is very different than being prepared. Watch me, son.
I like to be concise and keep these things flowing. So that's what we're going to try to accomplish today. We welcome your feedback, gents. We welcome your feedback. All right. So here's what I did. First of all, I looked at the total cap available. This number is probably not perfect, Brad. So, don't correct me. There's probably
already calling it out. That's all right. That's what we're supposed to do.
A millennial way of doing this.
Everyone say, "Oh, you're being too nice." Yeah, fucking Brad, you nitpicking motherfucker. This is ballpark.
Yeah, it's ballpark. Down to $8.
I'm a little riled up today.
So I took the total cap available for this year's auction. I estimated that about 60% would be spent on offensive players. That number is complete, just theoretical. I don't know if that's accurate. I didn't do the research, but my guess would be that more dollars are spent on offensive players. Not necessarily should be, but that's what I did. And then I allocated 70% of that money being spent on top 10 players in their respected position. So that gave me about $1,200 to spend on 37 players because there's only 7 quarterbacks available. So if you did
a lot of information, Corey, I trust you. I trust you.
Yeah, hold on here.
Trust the process.
That gives you an average spend on a top tier player at $300. Seems high, right? And no doubt it is. But
don't mind me, Corey. I'm just making a cocktail. That was the other complaint, was we weren't getting drunk enough during these. So, congratulations, guys! You got me drinking on a midday on a Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, you can do that. I cannot. But that'll be okay.
All right.
So anyway, quit interrupting me, please. Shut the fuck up! For Christ's sakes, can I get a word in here? I have some thoughts.
If I can't talk back.
When you interrupt me, at least have something important to say. Okay, please.
Hey, I think our audience enjoyed it.
Thank you. So back to this. I think that number is going to be actually lower, but just a little bit of food for thought. Okay. So now, when we look at the top 10 players available at wide receiver, Devontae, Allen Robinson. Again, this is just who I pulled from the list. I didn't, nail down into deep research here. Maybe a few of these are to throw other people off. Maybe a few of them aren't. I can't give away all my strategy, but the list is pretty thin. Okay, we have Adams and Robinson and Parker, and then the rest of these guys are all over 65 years old, other than Jalen Guyton. Okay, so if you're going to spend money, you have to figure that it's going to go to the top guys in general. I want to look again at who was spent on last year as well. We had Julio that went for $385. We had Beckham that went for $330. We had Parker that went for $240. Marvin Jones, 228. Hilton, 220. Perriman, $181 on Perriman. And John Brown, a whopping $186. Boy, what was the return on investment for those guys? Interesting stuff there. So I can say that I was able to trade Beckham for Parker and get a second to a first. That ended up being pick 215 to 123. And that was resulted in Nakobe Dean, as opposed to, I can't remember who was picked at 215.
Is this show just like an autobiography of your fucking fantasy life and BS? Jesus Christ.
I'm just trying to say like what the strategy was for me and what it can be for a rebuilding team.
Boy, Johnny, you really need to get this boy. He needs to get this better on paper. It's not working
Who
out.
you spend money on is important in drafts, depending on what strategy you're trying to imply, right? Like, so I don't know. There is a return if you pick the right guys and spend money on them and swap them for other players or draft picks. Just saying. Okay, now let's look at that list, Ben. Who on that list jumps out to you as someone that, wow, this guy's going to be worth every single penny?
Well, you know what? I'm not going to lie. You don't have everyone, so I can't give you that much of an opinion. Maybe
I can bring up wide receivers if you want to see the full list.
That's your top. That's your top 10.
No, it's not my top. It's generally it's pretty close to who is probably the big names available in the market right now.
Well, thank God you guys got a lot of cap.
Yeah, let's look at the whole list of 64 here, and you tell me then who on there is missing from my list. Not necessarily because you're gonna pay up for him. Should we throw in Nelson Aguilar maybe? Antonio Argo Brown.
I'm gonna go ahead and take this opportunity to just look at this. Are we just on wide receivers or are we on this whole list?
Yeah, let's just stick on wide receivers. We got about 5 to 10 minutes on these guys. Okay. It's a big class. I mean, there's tons of guys and obviously there's better deals and things, and we're not going to divulge who we want to go
16 get. Guys that return kicks, etc.
Kick return guys, but it gets Perriman was $180 last year in the auction and returned $24.
Yeah, but he was hyped up because he was supposed to be like, I don't know, Hollywood. What, man, it's easy to forget why people were expensive or why people spent on certain guys, but there was a reason for it. It's not like it was totally egregious at the time. There was some hype behind it.
For sure. I mean, there was definitely guys Beckham seemed to be one of those guys. I spent $330 on Beckham at auction. Got a little bit of shit for that. Same situation for Beckham this year. He's a free agent, a little unclear about where he's going to end up. But
he's a free agent this year. It's a little different. He was just disgruntled before.
Yeah, he was just shitty.
You didn't pay $330 for a free agent,
right? I mean, Allen Robinson, he's also 30 years old, right? So if you pick Allen Robinson, are you going to franchise him?
Why do people say 30 years old with a wide receiver like it's a bad thing? That's when people are in their prime in wide receiver.
Have you seen how Allen Robinson plays?
Okay. I know he quit on your team because you guys are dog shit and you were run by a bunch of donkeys, but he's going to be good.
This coming from a Vikings fan is fucking rich, by the way. At least I'm just saying he is a very physical receiver. He doesn't create a lot of separation, and he goes up and gets the ball and lands hard, almost like a Claypool, almost all the time. I would say if anybody,
almost like a Clay, you're comparing him to a guy who's 6 years younger than him. Is so fucking stupid.
Well, I'm
Allen Robinson has never in the history been drafted at proper ADP. He's like him and Landry are just guys. People are like, oh, they suck. It's like, oh, why? How did they get 80 catches?
I love Allen Robinson. I love him. I think what I'm trying to say is it's an interesting person that at 30 years old, if you spend $250 on him or $350 on him, what are you going to do next? Are you going to franchise him, tag him, and carry a $300 salary next year? Are you going to try to use him as trade bait? Like, what is the angle for people that, he could be dynamic this year. Absolutely. He could be worth every penny for a contender.
1 year value. It's a super pot, first of all. So maybe he should be $400.
Yeah.
Doesn't fucking matter what his trade value is. It doesn't fucking matter what his franchise value is. Maybe on a different year, it's a fucking super pod. Who fucking cares?
Yeah.
Pay $400 for Allen Robinson and thank me later.
Fair stuff. And as you pointed out to me, nobody has ever gone for over $400 in the history of BC auctions. So,
which is egregious considering how much cap has always existed. So it's like we'll pay $100 or we'll pay, what was that, $180 for Bobby Wagner, but we won't pay fucking over $300 for fucking Devontae Adams. What the fuck is wrong with people?
I definitely understand what you're saying there, and that was kind of my point. Is you have to spend money on the big guys, and you have to go get them. Otherwise, you're not going to get them. Period. And
yeah, not to be a dick to you guys who have cap, but like cap is good, right? Because you can be aggressive early, and that's all it's worth. That's all it's worth. Having lots of cap after that, dude, there's somebody with $400 who's gonna fuck you on every guy. Like it's gonna be a fucking managing program. Man, I was looking in like Game of Thrones, man. Like there's a guy with almost $400 in cap left. And it's not because he wasn't bidding on guys. He had fucking huge up with everyone just kept out bidding. He didn't want to overpay. And now he's sitting with
that's a good point.
$350, $400 worth of cap, man. Like, I'm just saying, I don't think people in general, we saw last year, I would say we saw at the linebacking position, people really get after it. That was when it was like,
hold on, brother, hold on. Okay. Let's not jump all over the map here. I want to stay on offense. I want to talk about the positions. Okay. I love you to death, but I don't want to go there yet. So let me ask you this question. Do you think that, and you can get knowledge from the 16 team leagues and apply that to what people should cost in the BC auction? That's a fair question for now. No, you don't think so? So you can't just simply double it and subtract 10% or anything like that.
No, I mean, in theory, you should double it, and you see fucking guys going for $300 in those leagues. But it's it does go the same way. Like you still have roster construction, which is less, right? So we have 45 versus 53 in those other leagues.
True, good point.
And the teams, like the quality of rosters are so much easier in those leagues, right? I mean, you look at who's probably not even going in these auctions, they're starters, right? They're starters.
Let's predict one. Let's just predict a number here on each one of these, just off the top of my head. What do you think Jalen Guyton goes for? Young prospect, probably number 3 or 4 number 4 on the, could Palmer or him or number 3 or 4, right?
Like, it's Palmer. Don't fuck around.
Palmer's has a chance for sure. What do you think Jalen Guyton goes? I would say he goes for at least $75.
Okay, that's cheap.
Yeah. Well,
you tell me he's in your top 10 of the best candidates available, and he's going to go for $75.
I'm telling you, this top 10 is. There's some.
Sammy Watkins is going for fucking $250. Julio Jones is a free agent, and he's going for $200. Jalen Guyton's going for $150. And if he doesn't, Julio Jones, a lot of people who are cool with having cap.
I'll bet you that Julio Jones does not go for $200, but we can't really make a bet there. But all right, well, let's move on to the running back list. Obviously, the big name on that is Zeke, right? Again, kind of like the Adams situation.
Zeke, let's go. I want to see somebody pay $600 for Zeke.
And do you think it's a contender, or do you think it's a person that's rebuilding that spends the money?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. No contenders have cap, so nobody's spending $600 on Zeke who actually needs them.
Yeah, it's going to be.
I say 600, but it'll probably go for 330, and I'll just laugh, and that'll be so cheap.
Well, I'm 100% willing to spend $500 on Zeke without a doubt. So the reason being is like I think I can move him. I think I can find some person that cap opens up mid-season and feels like he has a shot and get a draft pick out of it. So why not?
I mean,
he's the only. I mean, there's actually more. There's more running backs to me that make sense of purchasing than there are wide receivers, if that helps. Which is odd because usually to me it's the other way around. I think there's some decent ones. Like Burkhead might have a role. P. Ryan's a good backup. Damian Williams could have a role. Mark Ingram's going to have the first 6 games. McKissick also going to have his role. And your boy Antonio Gibson's already got a hamstring injury.
Hey, you want to talk comps, Corey?
Huh?
We're in an auction right now, right?
Yep.
We're in an auction right now. 16 teams.
Yep.
Rex Burkhead went for $10, and the owner immediately said he's for free to anyone who wants him. $10.
Right.
Okay. Mike Davis just went for like 8 when there's no running backs left and everyone's full of cap. There's a guy with $350. He still doesn't want Mike Davis.
If Burkhead goes for less than $130, I'll
hasn't
shit
even
myself.
been nominated yet.
Yeah.
Jared Korchak, what are you talking about? This is a fucking dumpster fire.
Well, no, I get it. There's a story to tell behind each one of those guys at auction in BC, though.
I can't wait to pay $200 for Rex Burkhead, who might get cut.
I don't think there's a guy on this list that goes less than $125. Let's put it that way.
If this is a list, I mean,
let's look a little bit deeper. Okay, let's look a little bit deeper. It's just interesting stuff, man. It's like, for me, I have just over $1,000 or just under $1,000 in cap because I made a nice deal with Wayne today. But
I don't know if I call it nice.
Well, it depends on how.
I like to see Wayne win some trades, though. That was good. Way to go, Wayne.
Well, everybody has their own strategy. So
thanks for.
So Tevin Coleman's available. You got Jordan Howard, Kyle Juszczyk. 64 points last year. Don't sleep on that.
More than most of these guys.
I mean, do you take a chance on Adrian Peterson at this point?
I mean, no.
He gets Quadri Allison. You know what? Not a bad Wayne Gallman, who I spent $140 on last year, back in the pool.
You spent $140 on Wayne Gallman?
I'm still a Wayne Gallman truther, by the way.
Wayne Trey Clemson, baby, I love him.
I don't understand why that guy doesn't.
When we're talking about understanding auctions year by year, I think $140 on the Wayne train says everything.
I was able to move him, by the way, yeah.
Did you move him to Wayne?
Mostert available. I forgot to add him. $250 last year. He was so buried on this list that he scored 2.4 points last year and cost $250. And I told you motherfuckers he was going to be a waste of money, and you said absolutely not. You got to spend $250. Mostert. Mostert was the golden boy last year.
He got fucking hurt. What are you talking about?
He's hurt every year. He's hurt every year.
Whatever. Oh my God.
He's awful. All
right. Guess what?
And I'm going to try to trade him to everybody
because he's in Miami and has a chance to start. What a fucking stupid argument.
Maybe this is his year.
What a stupid argument. Let's just talk about how guys who had season-ending injuries didn't fucking hit their fantasy value. Fuck off, Corey. Jesus Christ.
Listen. Here's the thing, and I've gotten into arguments with my buddy Warren on this.
Are they good ones?
No, here's the thing. You can't call people tight end one or running back ones and say, well, on average, if they score 12 points a game, they're 15 points a game, they're RB1. Shit, man, Will Fuller would be the fucking best wide receiver in football if that was the case, because every time he plays, he scores 20 points, but he only plays 4 fucking games a year. That's not how it works. If you want to call someone a fucking tight end one or a wide receiver one, he has to score points at that level on a yearly basis, and you have to take a fucking assessment of their injury into concern. Period, point blank. Gronkowski is a fucking free agent that has not committed to playing and hasn't played fucking more than average of 12 points a game or 12 games in a fucking season for the last 5 seasons combined. So if you want to call him a tight end one and fucking take a chance on him and spend $60 fucking dollars on that motherfucker and
no, he's a
go get him.
Contract.
Go get him.
He's a $12 contract. Roman had him. I don't know if he pissed him off to somebody else, but somebody got him cheap.
60, fucking give me a break. Like, to say, let's make a bet. He's going to be a tight end one. Yeah. Let's fucking make it on season average.
So
if he plays 3 games at the fucking end of the season,
take it easy.
What a fucking joke. It's the dumbest argument I've ever heard. Hey, and you know what? I'm starting to like Warren a little bit. He's a good dude. But like, fucking A, man, that makes no sense to me. Anyway, moving on.
You're all injury narrative.
You have to bank in consideration into
Every
the consideration.
Fucking player gets hurt. What the fuck are you talking about?
Every single player gets hurt.
Don't draft Dalvin Cook. He was fucking hurt for like 3 seasons in a row. Why the fuck would you draft him as a running back 1? Because he is one. Shut up. Fuck off, Corey.
He's not. He is a running back 1.
Oh, not right? According to your logic.
But he also performs as a running back 1, regardless if he's hurt or not. He's still in the top 12.
He gets consistently. He gets dinged up. You can't trust him.
And you're not comparing Dalvin Cook, who's 25 years old, to fucking Gronkowski, who's can barely walk at this point in his career. Give me a fucking break.
It's literally like you're not comparing Trevor Lawrence to like that old ass Tom Brady. Shut up, Corey. That argument's ridiculous. Ron Gronkowski can walk on the field with no practice and still print money. Shut up.
Do you think Rob Gronkowski's a tight end 1 this season?
If he plays?
Let's start every fucking argument. Well, yeah, if he fucking, first of all, signs with the Buccaneers, and second of all, if he plays more than 4 games.
He doesn't have a team right now. What the fuck are you talking about? He is going to play, and he's doing this to skip OTAs, or his back is really fucked up and he doesn't want to play football anymore. Why the fuck should we make a bet without him committing?
Because someone's trying to peddle him as a tight end 1 for $60. I call bullshit. That's why. He's $58 in that league. $58. No, this is in Thrones, but I'm just saying. Whatever. We're derailed off the
podcast, and you're fucking I don't want to talk completely off the goddamn rails.
Don't peddle people to me and fucking tell me a narrative. If you loved him that much, you wouldn't be fucking selling him. Give me a break. All right, moving on to the tight ends here. We have Zach Ertz with the candy of the class here. I wonder what Zach Ertz is going to go for this year. Hopkins is out. He's out on fucking 6-game leave here for his steroid use, alleged steroid use. I mean, you got to imagine he's going to be peppered with targets in the first half of the season, right? Like Zach Ertz. He's the best tight end in this class, in my opinion. So I wonder what he's going to cost. Okay, let's look at what fucking Anthony Frisker cost last year. Anthony Frisker cost $140 last year in this auction. What do you think Ertz is worth? $250? $220?
Dude, you and like looking at prices last year is gonna make me fucking kill myself. Okay,
Brent. I'm sorry. Please tell me how you would like to analyze this. Then you take it away, buddy. Go on with one of your fucking inconsistent rambles all over the place, and I'll just listen. Because I actually put time into this. Go ahead.
Doesn't sound like it. Sounds like all you did was looked at every transaction you ever made, and you came on this podcast to fucking bitch about it. So Zach Ertz, sure, Pepperwood targets, all right, but they just took like the next best thing. So we'll see how that works out. That could be a Goddard thing, and I think he's worth a substantial amount of money. I really do.
So if Anthony Frisker, whatever the fuck his name was.
Anthony Frisker was supposed to fucking start, and he was looking good, and he was looking like the sure shot.
Okay, right? Fair enough.
He was supposed to start. Position.
Ertz is going to start.
Position. Jesus Christ.
Ben.
It's a scarce position. Just sitting there talking about how Zeke should be $600, okay? Why shouldn't every fucking tight end cost $200? You can't get one. If you get one that scores points,
that's all I was asking from you, my friend, is to say what you think.
Cameron Brate should go for $150 just in case Gronkowski retires. Fuck off and ship it.
All right. So Ben is just saying spend. Like I pointed out early on that the average cost probably should be around $300. I'm not saying
spend. I'm saying everyone's going to fucking realize after the first 2 tight ends go for like $140 and they're like, that's expensive. And then all of a sudden everyone's spending $150 because they have no tight end that will score points, or you just don't know because tight ends specifically have to develop. That's the most surprise position you get almost every fucking year and getting the right guy will win you your league. If Anthony Frisker scored 180 to 250 points as a beast, he probably won the league for that guy. Like, talk shit all you want, but you need the next guy up at tight end because you don't have a plethora of options.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to analyze here too is like, what's the hit rate when you do spend money, right? So we'll call Ertz $142 last year. I can't remember his what he did last year.
Yeah, and that was he had a ton of FUD. Look at me go. He had a ton of like bad press because he was like trying to get traded. Like some people were
165 points last year. I mean,
I don't think when this auction happened, he was still a Philadelphia Eagle.
That is an absolute win, and probably should have went for 300 last year based off that production, right?
Who?
Zach Ertz. He had 160 points last year, so that's a win, 100%. Frisker is a big time L. Ebron, probably worth the risk, but an L. Cook worth definitely.
They're all risks, man. Yeah. Like
I'm just trying. Listen, man.
This auction is going to be filled with L's at all positions. Let's just prepare.
So the thing about analysis, Ben, is like I'm trying to come up with concrete stats and things that actually give people a little bit of an understanding of what happened. So you can generalize things and say all things are a risk. I'm actually trying to go through the numbers and show what the risks were and what paid off out of the top 10. That's why this is broken down this way. Okay. So
it doesn't tell that to me. All it tells me is that people make decisions based on the current hype and prospectus of the player. Some are right, some aren't. There's risk reward, some get rewarded, and a lot of people eat shit. Or you just take someone who's super fucking consistent. I don't know. Like, I'm just telling you, Corey, I don't see as much egregious shit as you keep pointing out. I just say, like, hey man, people are throwing darts, and where are the darts that won?
Right. I'm just saying, if you're going to spend on average $300 per top 10 player in each position, well, let's like, generally speaking, and you're only going to hit 30% of the time, then is there a better strategy in place?
My problem with this is that we don't have the top 20 scorers and how much they were on salary. Okay. Like somebody paid $20 for a tight end who probably got 80 points. Actually, I did. I got fucking Swine, right?
Well, you have to break down the cost per point.
Ended up getting more points than Frisker probably. But you know, that's what happens in this league. It's like you got to throw money at the risks, and they usually cost a lot. Like they risk unsure bets cost way more in this league than they do in any other league.
Well, I mean, P. Ryan, for instance, costing $88 last year, that's a win. I mean, I don't even have to look at the numbers because I know he played and I know he produced, right? So if you look at P. Ryan.
Yeah, but again, like narratives, right? P. Ryan was on the Bengals, right?
Yep.
So it was Mixon, and then they just drafted Puka Williams, and then they had somebody else on that roster. And so P. Ryan was like iffy to even make the team or be the second guy. Like it was still competition at that point, if I remember correctly. So I agree that's a win. That's a good
it's a
price.
It's a point per dollar, basically.
But there was a lot of risk. There was a lot of risk in that pick because he wasn't even sure to make the team.
Yeah.
At that point, based off his like contract. I could be completely wrong, but I remember specifically that there was a lot of hype around everyone not named P. Ryan. And then he ended up being the backup and, you know, bruisered his shit like he was supposed to. What is he, Washington? And he never got really much play. So, yeah, it was a good pick.
I mean, someone like Amir Abdullah. I mean, like that's a problem. I mean, he's definitely a win if he scores 105 points. I can't even remember what he cost at auction.
Scored 105 points because he returned kicks, dude.
Right. So that has to be heavily considered. But nobody knows that for sure going into the season either, right? Like
he returned kicks, okay,
for Carolina.
Yeah, I know. After he was cut by the Vikings.
And then picked up and then returned kicks.
After he was cut by the Vikings. So in analyzing that pick, it's just like they drafted Smith Marset and how do you say his name? Ngannouche or whatever.
Yeah.
Ngannou.
Yeah.
They were both return specialists. So you're like, see you later. So you're drafting Amir Abdullah, banking then him getting not only another team, also winning a return job and maybe getting some injury work. So again, like it's exactly where it should have been. And you got good value out of it, but that's huge risk, man. Taking like a guy who's not even supposed to be rostered. Well, what did he cost?
I don't know. I would have to dig in.
Anyway,
but I'm saying
he
that
probably
it's a win.
I would assume he didn't cost very much.
I would say 25 or less, probably. I mean,
yeah, maybe even less, man.
So you can pay.
Might have been an FA. He might have been an FA when we.
You can pay $25 for a rookie free agent in this freaking draft, and just like.
Hey, man, actually, that's actually a really good point, Corey. Like, return guys are so valuable to teams. I mean, Bill Belichick just came out and said that he thought. I mean, this is the stupidest shit ever, but he thought, what the fuck is his name? Slater, his special teams guy, was one of the most valuable people he ever coached because he always did his job 100%. And it was like, that guy was a special teams guy. He's going to return kicks. He's going to field punts. He's not going to fumble it ever. He's not going to muff it. At the point of that is like, that guy could do that he's like a long snapper. He can do it for his whole life. And so if you're good at returning kicks, which is actually what was crazy about Cordell Patterson, right? It's like Cordell Patterson, we're like, well, he's always going to be the kick returner. And then all of a sudden he's just like, in the leagues, I paid $1 for him just because he was a kick returner. And then all of a sudden this last year, he did that crazy
He'll go for
shit,
200,
came out of nowhere, which was awesome. Yeah. But,
somebody that really fucked over both Bears and Vikings fans, by the way.
Yeah, I think more Vikings fans. Obviously, we drafted him, but I don't know. I always liked him as a player. I mean, I went to a live game in San Diego on the opener, and he took one to the house in front of my eyes. Opening kickoff.
Oh, that's cool.
I was just like, dude, like I owned up. I still own probably in my closet a Patterson jersey because
he's no Percy Harvin, that's for sure.
No, but I mean, it's just like whatever. Point.
One last point here, and then I'll let you take over your extraordinary analysis of the defensive side of the football.
It'll be better than this, I'll tell you that.
If you need a quarterback, go pay for one. I mean, if you don't get the first guy who was $26 last year in the first team, the Niners, everybody else obviously goes drastically down. 8, and then 1 because you can't draft more than one. So what's $26 to have, Tom Brady this year? Give me a break, like you can make a trade there and make an easy come up. But someone would argue, is there that much difference between the position? I would say, why not spend $75 on the best quarterback or best two if you're really trying to make contending promise? $26 seems fucking dirt cheap to me, all things considered. So. All right, my man. I'm going to stop my screen share. You want me to pull up the?
I don't get to talk about the quarterbacks. All right.
I mean, it is what it is. Like, what do you want to talk about?
I mean, it's a super pod. If you're contending, go get a good quarterback. Otherwise, pay $1.
Did I just not say that? Pretty sure I did.
Did you say
maybe there's a listening problem going on here? It seems like you want to just interject and
say go pay $1.
Stupid.
Nobody pays for quarterback in this league, Corey.
I just said, if you're contending, pay up. Go get your guy. Like, why wouldn't you? That's what I said.
That was fire analysis.
Yeah. Go ahead, buddy. Here's your linebacker list. Tell me what to do. You run the show. Oh, I got a screen share.
Snarky shit fuck. Why do we even do this? Linebackers. Why are we starting with linebackers? Did you decide on that? I guess this is your show, Corey.
You can tell me whatever to do here, buddy.
Well, let's start with the D tackle where it all goes from the top. All right. D tackle, D end, then we'll go to linebackers, then we'll go to cornerbacks, and then we'll go to safety. There you go. Just like the list says. Corey.
All right. D tackle. Here you go, buddy. The screen is now yours.
Jesus Christ. All right. So what my rant has continued to be about is that we're losing D ends and we're getting more D tackles and we're getting more linebackers. So
hey Ben, I gotta take this call. I have to explain it, but keep going and just enlighten these folks on it. I'll be back in 5 minutes.
That was funny.
Hello.
Oh, he actually did take the call. I thought he was fucking with me. All right, I'm just gonna take this 5 minutes to not say anything about any position and just talk about Corey and how butthurt he gets about things. Corey, he gets all riled up in our local fantasy chat that we have with our friends, and then he gets like, and then he goes, and then he goes, and then he's like, and then like all of a sudden he doesn't want to talk to anyone. So I like that I'm getting under his skin a little bit. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope this is better than the last ones. I heard a lot of complaints that wasn't conflictive enough and we weren't talking enough shit. So I hope from me to everyone in BC and all our viewers, which I think are only people in BC, anyone who isn't in BC watching this, man, high five. I'll give you $100 to Sharkies if you show up. Like, you're a hero. But yeah. I love how serious Corey takes this, considering our viewership. And I love taking this seriously too. It's not like this is all bullshit, you know? I just made a cocktail. I got loose. You know, we're all having fun here. So before we talk about these defensive positions, which I'm clearly not going to do until Corey comes back, I just want to thank everyone in BC. No matter who you are, no matter what you say, what you do, it's okay. We have bad days, we have good days. I love y'all. And I hate y'all because I'm competing against you. I want to fucking beat you all. All right? There, I said it. There's your conflict. And anyways, it's not how you get listeners, but defensive tackle. Oh, I'm not supposed to talk about it until Corey comes back. All right, so what else should we talk about? Let's talk about, Corey's rants on this offensive side of the ball. Jesus Christ. I'm going to make a spreadsheet and show 10 guys and talk about it. And I'm going to take these fucking, numbers of this money of 10 guys. It's like, dude, what do you... Motherfucker needs a PowerPoint presentation for everything, clearly. And I can do anything on the fly. And I can tell him everything that he was talking about was totally fucking bullshit. You know what? Whoever has the fucking cap thinks they have the power until they get in the auction and get kicked in the dick. That happens all around. Unless you go into the auction with a pure intention to kick everyone else in the dick, which is going to only work so far. If you want to bid up everyone, eventually you're going to bid up enough guys where you get stuck with players and your roster gets full, and now everyone else can enjoy the draft. So seeing that there are not a lot of people with a shitload of cap, I'm not really worried about it. I feel like everyone's going to have a fun race to the top. At what position? I mean, those wide receiver running backs will go top heavy, and then it'll just be gross upside. I mean, that was my point, right? Like, everything is going to be for the upside. Like, that's all we do in this league. Pretending like a year later that it was fucking stupid is kind of unfair, because you don't get a free lunch in this league. New guys, you do not get a free lunch in this league. You got to swing. If you think paying for first guard for that price was too expensive, wait until you get in the auction. You need to figure out what your plan is for your roster. That's it. If you don't know what your plan is for your roster and you go into this auction and try and wing it, you're going to end up with a bunch of players you didn't want, and you're going to not pay. Maybe you have a bunch of cap. Maybe you won't down. It's going to suck. So
I'm so sorry, dude. I'm sorry about that. I've been trying.
No, man. I was talking to our audience, and we did awesome.
I'm sure you did. I do want to apologize. That was not. I am so pissed off. I have been on hold with a fucking company for 5 days. Not on hold, just trying to get through to someone. And you can put your callback number in. Nobody fucking calls you back. Hold on, please. Nobody calls you back. Okay. So I finally get them on the phone, and guess what? No kidding. They can't help me, right? Like, what the fuck is going on with our society with people that just do not want to help? They do not want to help you. They don't want to try. They don't want to provide any sort of customer service. It's a fucking joke. I'm going to end up choke slamming someone because
yes.
It's absolutely ridiculous what it's come down to. It's either automated and you can't get a hold of someone, it's outsourced to a different country and they can't communicate with you effectively, or the person that you get on the phone does not give a fuck about your issues or trying to solve them. You can make so much money if you could figure out how to create better customer service in every business and freaking pay people the appropriate amount of money to do their job. Sorry, back to your analysis. I'm just livid, man. I just told the guy to go fuck himself. I hate like being that person too. It's like, why can't they just try to help you? A fucking week before I can get a call back just to be told that they can't help me?
Yeah,
It's fucking weak.
It's weak sauce for sure. Yeah, that's pretty brutal. And also, this podcast is for our friends, all of our friends at Blue Chip, not really for anyone else. So if you need to take a fucking personal call to get real life shit done, you're gonna take that personal call.
I know. I just didn't want you to think it was like.
I got us through it. We're good.
It's a pool pump, man. It's a fucking pool. It's a pool. It's my whole system for a goddamn pool that I cannot use, and it's going to be 95 fucking degrees. You spend $2 million on a fucking house in California, or $1.5 million or whatever it is, and you can't fucking use your goddamn pool, at 90 fucking 5-degree weather. And it's like, you got 2 kids. It's like fucking. It's just like, goddamn, man. Fuck.
Oh, this is great. This is real content. Thank God. All right. I agree with everyone. Our first 2 podcasts were shit. This is much better. Thank you, Corey.
I don't know if
I love that rant. And yes, fuck those guys.
All right. Back to it here. So where were you? I'm sure it was great. Do you want me to move on from D tackles?
No, we haven't started yet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. Don't worry. I gave a heart to our friends and our listeners.
Oh, I'll listen back. It'll be, mind blowing, I'm sure.
Man, Corey. Don't do something silly, like not post this. No, I said all good things. So, all right. See, I got sidetracked because I was giving heart to hearts this whole time, covering for you. D tackle. All right. So the DN position is devalued. So there's more D tackles. So in theory, the pool is going to be much better in D tackle and free agency, which means like you can probably find pretty good deals, right? Yep. You're going to be able to get, in general, probably in a $10 to $20 range, somebody who will get you good points at the tackle position. And those types of guarantees are hard to come by in blue chip. Points guarantees for low price values are hard. Maybe D tackle, maybe cornerback are the best you're going to find in those values. And I think that's super important on the defensive side of the ball, where we always are focusing on get the DN, stack DN, stack linebackers, stack safeties. And I notice a lot of teams historically, and I've never really used this strategy, will stack D tackles and cornerback darts because you can start an extra one of them, right? So if you get guys that score 9 points instead of a 12-point safety, for example, who fucking cares? It's blue chip. You need guys who score points, right? So I think the D tackles, I think cornerback is way different because there's so many. Like there's so many fucking cornerbacks. I don't know what the total number is, but it's astronomical. So, but the D tackle position is now really fruitful. It didn't used to be, but now it is. It's just like the DNs are just gone all D tackles. And the top ends are only Hartgraves, Kenny Clark, Fletcher Cox, if you still believe he's got some. And then everything else is a real risk. And this is that risk reward. But I don't think personally, unless
Calais Campbell, Sue, Vita Vey. I mean,
they're not that good though, man. Like you got to weigh. People are going to weigh what they are, what they're capable of, what their ceiling is, and what they should pay for it. I don't see any of those guys going for $40. Like,
well, I'm just saying, if you compare the position, all those guys score between 80 and 100 points, and the available pool here is like, look at like, I mean, yeah, some of these guys are injured, whatever, but like, they're all around that same point.
You're on DN.
So if you can start,
you're on DN. Dog.
I know that, Ben. Stay with me here, buddy. Stay with me. What I'm saying is, if you have a D tackle that scores 90 points that you can get for $40 as a spending $125 on a Frank Clark that's going to get you 76. I know he was hurt. Like I'm saying, like it's all about scoring points. So if you can start 2 defensive tackles and get them for half the price as your third or fourth DN, what difference does it make?
Well, this is going to go to my point, but you're kind of skipping around. All right, so we're at DNs now.
No, I'm showing the people that are watching
the scarcity.
That's these fine. Guys scored 102 points. Guy Lawrence he's number 4 free agent, scored 102 points last year.
Yeah, but Just
104, 101, 90, 89. They're all relatively about the same in points scored, except for the one or two guys at the top.
right. But why is wide receiver, running back, and DN so scarce in the free agency auction?
Because you can start
They're the
more
most probable to be extended. They're most probable to be franchised, and they're most probable to be transition tagged. So there's not a pool in those three specifically because of the scarcity of the position and the upside that goes behind it, which is why I would say D tackle probably has a nice little niche of value if you want to
Correct.
try and make sure you're getting a flex position that can get you points. You know, I always fucking somehow fuck up the D tackle position in this league. Unlike every other league, I have the best D tackles. I'd never do it here. I don't know how it happens, but I really like how deep this is for points. 70 points, right? Over a 16 game. It's like, okay, 6 points, but like, dude, it's better than a 0.
Yeah. Yeah, this was actually my strategy last year a little bit. And I drafted 3 defensive tackles, and I think I got Vay was one of them. And I just was like, well, I'm going to try to score points. And like, I was just filling this league out. And I figured, well, if I can score 60 or 70 there, it's better than spending $100 on a defense end that's only going to get me 30. So,
yeah, I mean, points per dollar, probably the value is always in cornerback and D tackle. The problem is, like, you know, I don't know.
You're not going to win the league.
It's because nobody pays for them.
Right.
Right. It's just, that's it. It's not because it's, that's where everything is. It's just like nobody pays for them. Like,
well, if you're scoring your, you know, if you're having to start that many quarterbacks or that many defensive tackles and losing those points from a high-end defensive end versus a second-tier defensive end, you're probably not in a very good position to win your matchups anyway.
Yeah, they just changed. And then interior defensive linemen, I mean, they're varying from like 40% snaps to like 65. I mean, that, you know, they're coming off the field and pass rush situations more than likely. If you have a defensive tackle who stays on the field, like a Fletcher Cox, Kenny Clark, Hargraves, those guys, well, actually Fletcher Cox is kind of going over the hill a little bit, so he might not start as much, but the guys who get those high-end snaps, those are the guys you need to pay for because it's all about opportunity. But it just doesn't happen at the D tackle position unless you're finding D tackles who are mislabeled and actually play the DN position. That's probably where you're going to see shit tons of value, right? But now that I said that, or I think this league's smart and knows that there's at least 10 owners who know that. And they're going to try and get all the D tackles because for 2 reasons. If they stay at D tackle, you have a really high scoring D tackle. But if they go to D end, you have a really scarce D end, right? So I actually, like, when you talk about in these other leagues where you're gambling on the linebackers getting switched to D end, I would actually say the honey is in the D tackles with the upside of being switched to D end.
Just for example, I think like Kenny Clark in a 16-team league went for $40 recently or 30, something like that.
Yeah, he should go for a lot. I mean, his points, he was injured last year. So like, no, he's a fucking beast. He should be number
same for
one.
Fletcher Cox. I think the guy from Kansas City, is it Jones? He was the most expensive in thrones and was like
Chris Jones,
$45 or something. So I wouldn't be surprised if these guys go in the 80, 90 range, 100 maybe even. So do you want me to go to linebacker now, Ben, or
no? Go to the end. I mean, well, it'll be quick because we basically just blew the fucking position up based off of this, and I'm going to talk more about it in the linebacker. So this is where it's going to be stupid, or it should be stupid. If it's like linebacker was dumb last year, but it should be D end. I mean, we'll see what happens. If it's not, whatever. But Cameron Jordan should be $200x, right? You need to, like, there's just so many less DNs. Nobody's got them. You got to go get something, right? Like, this is now becoming this, like, holy shit, can I just get guys who score points position? Like, It's like desperate. It's like the running back position on crack all of a sudden. And like, yeah, go down this list. It gets down to fucking 20 really quick, man. Like, and that is just like, okay, some rotational guys you probably can't even bank on. Like, they probably got run because of injuries. Some could be up and comers. You know, oh, there's Taco Charlton. He's on Pittsburgh. He couldn't make it with all the opportunity in Dallas. Like, this is where you're going to go back next year and say, holy shit, this is gross. Like, how did people pay this much money for these DNs? And it's just going to be like, well, I need to start one. And your decision is, do I start one just because he's on a team and maybe rotates in and gets me a couple points? Or am I actually trying to get an advantage at the position, which is going to be hard to do? But that's like, again, running backs are going to go so expensive. Why wouldn't DNs? Like, that's my opinion. Like right now.
The crazy thing about just a couple points here, fucking Cam Jordan, man. Like, the thing that scares me about him is his production was so second half of the season last year. Same with Dunlap. It's like you spend up over these guys. Like, I wonder if Cam Jordan's just like, okay, let's wait and see, and I got to turn it on when I got to turn it on. I know he's chasing records and things of that nature, but the dude's old, right? Like, he's getting old. Like, so at what point are you have to evaluate guys that are going to play first half of the season versus second half of the season, right? Like, they're not playing in the first half of the season because they know it's a grind at 17 fucking games, right? Like, it's just scary. Some of those guys are just scary, right?
Yeah, Cam Jordan with 40 points in that 17 slot's pretty brutal.
Right. I mean, it's just like,
unless you were in the finals.
Yeah. I mean, I traded him in a couple different leagues because it's just like, dude, like nothing. He's probably reached his, he's just over the hill kind of thing. And then all of a sudden, bam, bam, bam. Thank God I wasn't in the playoffs.
I'll tell you, Cam Jordan's PFF grade last year was like shocking to all IDP people. Like we knew, it's like, oh yeah, he's so good, he's over the hill, and he was underperforming and like touching the quarterback 10 times a game. So it's like those things come in waves. The wave was in the last. I agree that he's older. Like, man, those guys at the top that are older. Like, and the problem is, if they're younger, guess what? They're on somebody's roster. Right? Like DNs are being extended no matter what, right? You take a DN and you're paying $5 for him because you got him in the fourth or whatever. You're extending him for 4 years to see what happens. And then you're just riding it out, right? That's generally happened. They're not going back in the free agency pool like some of these other guys in other positions would. So it's just so much less available per, like, how much people are keeping the position and retaining the position and make sure they're holding on to the position, and B, what the positional change is now doing to this position, right? So It's like we lost a bunch to linebackers and a bunch to D tackles, and a little sprinkle came back, and that was it for 3 years straight now. So it's like we're getting a trickle down effect of where, again, different topic, different time, but we can discuss if this needs to be a 1 DN starting league with an extra flex or how that works. But like, I believe DN is harder to fill than running back or any position. I think it's the hardest position to fill in this league, and it's not close.
The turnover, yeah. I hit fucking drafted Griffin last year. If that guy could have kept it together, he was going pretty strong. So those are the risks you got to take, right? Like, guys that might have mental health problems that aren't even on a roster, and you spend $35 on them, and then
But you got him for $35 because he had a problem.
Yeah, right. But
just saying, if he didn't have a mental problem, you would have paid $150 for him. Just
probably, yeah. All right. We're going to move on to linebackers, and then we're going to do quarterbacks and safeties jointly. So
yeah, that's fine. Those
we got a hard stop.
Cornerback I almost already did, right? Yeah. Okay, so linebacker is always the most intriguing position to bid on, and it's because we have 32 owners, and everyone's going to value people differently. And some people are going to take the view of like, what did they do last year? Are they productive and can be productive consistently? And then some people are just going to be like, next man up, who's in competition. And so you get a lot of bidding value probably on that risk management, right? Like, this guy is in contention for a starting linebacker spot. I can probably get him for between $10 and $20 instead of paying for who ESPN has penciled in as the starter as this guy. And I think that's a good way to like try and expose value in auctions in general, but this specifically, in this deep of a league is don't just assume that the paper printed means what it's going to end up, right? Like, and that's specifically with depth charts. And that takes studying. You got to look into camps and stuff like that. And like, some of it makes headlines, right? If it's a big name, but in general, you want to know, does somebody not have full job security on a position, right? Like, we know without a shadow of a doubt, the linebackers who are never, ever getting benched, right? Like, they're always going to have their position, but there's always competitions. And that's where I feel like linebacker is the more fun position in the auction because there's just so much gamble, right? There's so much competition at how wide the linebacker position is and how much upside you get from a good linebacker, right? You get a really good 3-down linebacker who starts printing, right? Just fucking printing. Even if you get a 2-down thumper in this league who gets you like 130, 40 points, that's really good value, right? And so for me, that's what I always like to look at personally because of what we saw last year, which is the guaranteed things will cost a lot of money, right? We saw $100, $180 for Bobby Wagner last year. If you go to the top, Corey,
Yep.
I don't see a lot of that, right? Because tell me, Corey, do you see anyone who's guaranteed a middle linebacking 3-down position in this list?
Christian Kirksey, maybe?
He's not guaranteed it.
No.
No way. They just draft. I mean, in theory,
They drafted Harris, right? Chris Harris, I think.
they drafted Harris. They'll probably run 4-3 more majority of the time, like most people. But I think he's got a good salary. But if it came out through the end of the year and he got 67% snaps, I wouldn't be shocked at all. Because he's an old dude they're just trying to fill and they're trying to rebuild. You eventually have to just play guys you need to know are good or not. They're not competing. So taking vets on a non-competing team are usually super risky, in my opinion, because if they need to play younger guys and they know they're going to suck, I mean, maybe Houston thinks they're going to be good, but I think Houston, the reason Kirksey plays 3 downs the whole year is if he's one of the best leaders and locker room guys there are, right? And I can't tell you that. I haven't looked that much into the guy. But you have to be so valuable to the team to retain that position as a veteran when your team's sucking and they need to see who the next man up is. And they got a bunch of guys through last year's draft and this year's draft and some young free agents. So I still don't think it's not a Bobby Wagner, right? It's not, there's no sure shots here.
Yep.
But there's a lot of guys with a shit ton of upside. I mean, we're talking Joe Schobert doesn't even have a team. Like, he still probably should go for $50 with no team.
What is your thoughts? Just a quick question in general, and this isn't specific to offense or defense or anything, but as a strategy, trying to play the bank at one position and drafting as many of guys as possible in hopes to making deals later to due to scarcity. So essentially, hoarding a position and then selling pieces off as the season progresses.
Unless it's running back, wide receiver, or linebacker, or D end, you can't do it. I mean, no, you can't do it. There's too much. There's 32 teams, too much cap. You're not going to get these screaming deals.
You could probably sell some of the pieces off, and then some of it you're going to get, 1 year But if you don't care necessarily about winning week to week, it's a strategy for sure.
For example,
I generally try to, the way I approach these things, and this is probably wrong of me. Like, of course, I have my strategies in place, but I'm genuinely trying to win and trying to get better without a cheat code, if you will. Like, so I'm not in that position. Like last year, I obviously made some mistakes, and I knew I wasn't going to compete. But I tried to apply a strategy and one that made sense, like to actually forming a team that would compete on a week-to-week basis. But by fucking the end of the year, man, you're looking at like, I can't even find a running back that has a non-free agent tag to play in order to even form a roster, right? Even if you're trying. So what's the difference?
That's the fucking shitty reality. right? The shitty reality of this league is you're like, oh, I'm just gonna roster like 3 backup running backs. It's like, well, if they get cut, you can't even play.
If you're not all in, you better be all out. I mean, I guess that's one way.
Even if you're all out, like, for example, if anyone knows for sure that they're rebuilding, right? Like, or that they're, let's say you're on the cusp and you don't really know. Like, does a player like Bobby Wagner for $180 really do a lot for you unless you're planning on franchising and the next year, right? Yep. But rebuilds don't always take 1 year in this league. Sometimes it's a multi-layered process. So I like trying to find the price point where you can get the most guys with the most upside opportunity, right? Long term. So if you end up paying, and this is hard to do in this league, but if you go a bunch of linebackers at $10 who are backups, right? But they're young and they have a chance and they have a shot. You sign all those linebackers to 4-year deals. It'll never cripple you if you have to cut them. But if they hit, that trade value is really high. And that can go for wide receivers too, right? Guys buried on depth charts. If you want to just pick a niche, it's harder with those positions because I think there's a little less playing time wise, and there's also the desire to pay more for those positions. But like cornerback, D tackle, fucking safety, whatever you want to do. When you talk about hoarding a position, can you control a market? No fucking way in this league can you control a market. But can you pick a price point spot and get value knowing you can trade them? So if I wanted to draft 10 safeties and never pay more than $10 for them. And then throughout the year, injuries happen. And all of a sudden in that year, I have a strong safety who is getting whatever points. Now, 2 sides to that. You can just say, fuck yeah, I hit, or you can trade it to a competing team, maybe get a 3rd round, 2nd round pick if he's really balling and teams compete. That's a good strategy if you're rebuilding, right? I'm okay with that.
It's hard to, if you overspend, but
you can't corner a position in this league.
If you overspend on a position or a guy, you're gonna limit the amount of trade partners you can have and what you can do with that person long term. You know, depending on your long-term strategy, right? Like if I spend $450 on Zeke Elliott, there's only going to be a few owners that are actually going to be in the market to, buying him off you. And then, you can franchise tag him. But what happens if he falls off the cliff in 2 years? Then you're trying to fucking, you're setting pick someone else's way to take him off your fucking roster. So you can get caught with your pants down, if you're not careful and you overspend. So I think I understand what your strategy is. It's like find a price point that's flexible and it's going to produce points, and try to get as many of those players as possible because it's low risk. And at the end of the day, you might hit jackpot and keep them, or you can find trade partners that will be willing to take on their cap and invest in those players.
Well, and I think the bigger point is like, if you spend on guys with the assumption that they will have trade value, you're going to be at a position where you're like, they have trade value, I don't want to trade them. Right? Or they don't have trade value and nobody wants them. Right? So unless you're doing that with a concise idea that you're going to trade to competing teams during the season and you're going to try and get the best guys, but like, why pay up? Like, again, like a lot has to happen, right? Like you're talking, the more cap it is, like I have Patrick Peterson for like $36 or something like that, right?
Have you tried to move him lately?
Yeah, I've tried to move him to a lot of different types of deals, and the consensus pre-auction is that he's not worth his price tag, and his points per game are as good as anyone. But that doesn't matter in the end until maybe the auctions are done and but like that's because he's on a higher end of the position. Like nobody wants to pay the premium for a guy who probably is worth what his salary is, right? So if he gets 100, if he's healthy the whole year like he was the year before, he's gonna get 120 points. It's a pretty good cornerback. It's a fair price compared to historical numbers that we've seen, but like there's a shit ton of cornerbacks. And guys got cornerbacks on their roster for like a couple bucks that are performing. So like, if you, to the point of, can you corner a market, can you spend up and go later? I just think it's a bad strategy, because the more I notice is like, the more you overpay for players, the harder they are to move when you want to move them, not necessarily if they're devalued or not, right? It's just like, he's a fair guy at the position, but like nobody, it's just like, it doesn't tickle my fancy, right? Like, whatever. And like, what are you going to do? Like, oh, I got the next fucking biggest shit wide receiver for 4 years on a $40 deal. You're going to trade that guy. You're never going to trade that guy.
Yeah.
Right. So just mitigate the risk, like if the idea is build a bunch of shit to trade to like contenders, which is a really good strategy if you are truly rebuilding from the ground up.
It's the money ball. It's
all about palatable contracts. It's all about palatable contracts, because you're going to get so much more for them.
I think the money ball way is probably the ideal strategy if you could put the time in. And I tried to do it last year with amount of money spent versus amount of production, and try to figure out what that dollar amount should be at position based off of how important that position is.
It's hard to do in this league. It's really hard to do in this league.
It takes a lot of fucking time.
Like, I can say go get $10 guys, but that's all cool when you have like 15 $10 nominations and everyone puts them to 25 and you got to make decisions. Like, it's not that easy, right?
But you need to 22 guys, right? You need to score 150 a week to be competitive. So you do the math, 22 divided by 150, right? What's that?
Yeah,
7 points per person. So you got to find 7 points per person on your roster in a starting lineup each week to compete. If you don't do that, you're lost. So it doesn't matter where those points come from. If you can find 5 linebackers that are going to average 5 points a game, or 7 points a game, or 9 points a game, and you can find a quarterback that's going to get you 20. I mean, like, you have to put your team together in that way. Otherwise, you're going to fall behind and you're just taking shots at the.
Yeah, Corey, that's a really good point, man, because like, I think also to compound on that, like, you need to also think, if you're going to take a 0 at a position, you need to be damn sure that another position is scoring 14 a game.
Yeah.
And that's hard. Yeah. That's hard, right? And if you're stacked at running back and you're saying, like, look at my fucking team, I'm like, I'm so top heavy, it's fucking makes me want to vomit every time I look at it. It's gross. Like, what if I start 3 guys who score 0? Right. Does Alvin Kamara, Jones, and Diggs fucking matter? Kind of not really.
Right.
Right? Like,
well, or injury, right? If you like take the Roman strategy where you spend all your money on 3 or 4 or 5 players, and 2 of those guys get hurt or suspended, you're fucked.
This league, that's always going to happen. You just, like, injuries just devastate teams. Like, you go from a favorite to the shittiest team in the league on 5 injuries in this league, right? Like, that's why we gawk at, like, we'll do it later after the auction when we go and analyze each team and their depth. Usually depth is why we're, stroking somebody, not so much so top heavy. Or I think we're all different, but I always look in, if you got 5 linebackers who look like they're going to legitimately start the entire year with 2 other guys, it's like, wow, that's really strong, And for me, just again, to reflect on my roster, like, I'm going to go all in on like 2 running backs with some fillers. Right. It's dicey, but there's not much else to do. At the end, I got 1. What the fuck am I going to do that position with my cap? Who knows?
Yeah, I've started putting together my strategy, and I'm still working on some of the other leagues that we have. We have a CK coming up. It's just each league and each situation is completely different based off of whether you're competing or you're not competing. If it's a 3-year plan or a 2-year plan. Like, I'll talk real quickly about the trade I made with Wayne, who, bless his heart, he keeps firing. And this time I actually went and offered him a trade. It's a lot of money. It's $160 I took in on Buda Baker and Shazier for 1 year. But to me, those are $80 players that are impact players at their position that, okay, if I'm not competing and I'm a middle of the road team, maybe a little bit less, like, I can trade an $80 linebacker that's getting 10 to 12 points a game. I can trade him without a doubt.
I need to go on record on this because I've seen this across leagues, and I'm going to say it. And I can back it up with actual pricing that happened in Thrones. The notion that Alazir is the starter is false. Okay, he's not. He's not. Greenlaw is a starter. Greenlaw has to have a bad recovery for Alazir to get the nod. He might be the next in line, but like they have two options there, and San Francisco is super lucky because they're going to have two beasts who are going to hard compete. He'll still get snaps and he'll still play, but my point specifically is I've noticed that Greenlaw and Shazier are getting equal value in auctions. That happened in Thrones. I think they both went for $35 or something like that. That's a 16-team league. That tells you that $80 is still a very good price. Well, he's not $80. He's like 60, right?
No, he's 80 in BC.
Oh, they had transition tag? What happened? Okay.
Yeah, it's
whatever.
Transition tag, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, okay. So again, when I saw the transition tag originally, that's what I thought. I'm like, damn, man, that's fucking balls. You know, you're gonna use a transition tag guy on exactly what I'm talking about. You should be looking at all around the league, which is like who's competing for a middle linebacker position, right? Like those two guys are competing. The good thing is, you know, for sure, whoever starts is going to get a shitload of points, like a shitload, not just, oh, he got me 6, 7. No, he's going to get you like 14 to 20. They're going to get 10 tackles a game and just fucking eat, right?
Yeah.
And so that position is super value on that San Francisco defense. And so, but I noticed, so when you talk about like how good was that trade, I think this is the year Xavier McKinney actually retains his value.
No, yeah, and that's fine. To your point, though, hold on just a second. To your point, you have to know how long you're trying to build out and what makes sense for your team. Like McKinney does not have a resale value, even though he had a good year last year. At $40 safety level with a 5-year contract, he was tough. I couldn't get anything more than a 3rd or 4th round pick for him. Like, so to me, it's like, okay.
You didn't offer him to me.
Right. Well, I mean, he's been on my trade list for a while now, and I haven't got any.
Yeah, but just because he's on your trade list doesn't mean I know what you value.
I'm just saying, like, so me to get 2 players that for a contender, I could sell off, get more draft capital or younger, cheaper contracts. I
got 2 potential starters.
Regardless, I could get $160 back in cap next year. So I removed Keyshawn Johnson's contract, who I did not want anymore. He was, to me, worthless. I was like 3rd or 4th on the positional depth chart. I moved Oren Burks, who was cheap and maybe scored some points this year, but not much. And then I moved McKinney, who basically I got 2 players that I think I can get draft capital of either 3rd or 2nd round, maybe some sort of swaps or something to get me long-term players that when I have another year under my belt and my rebuild is now in year 3, now it's time to start being a bit more aggressive and going after guys and trying to compete now, right? So like McKinney in year 4, he's going to be $50, like by the time I'm actually competing. So you better move him now if you think you're going to get any value from him at all, right? So that, at least that was my thought process. And I'm admittedly going to say this out loud. I don't think I can be an expert in this league on every single position, on every single player. So I'm very narrowly focused on what I'm good at and what I can analyze. And then I'm secondarily good at, things that I struggle with. So it's hard to be an expert on any one position or one, one topic. So I'm just trying to get better at specific positions long-term and then taking my shots on other positions. So anyway.
All right, Corey. Well, as a Lakers fan, I don't appreciate when people put asterisks on the bubble championship. So I'm going to allow everything you said, even though I feel like it's all asterisk valued. Look, the trade is the trade. I would say there's no way I'm looking at that trade and saying somebody really won it over the other based on the variance. There's cap involved and there's potential starting power. So Buda Baker's I think he's starting for sure. And they always do like he's definitely getting 100% snaps. If I remember right, they always do. He's still in Arizona, right?
He will get more points than he cost in dollars. That's all I know. He'll get 2 to 1.
And like for me, I think McKinney's going to make a break. And to come back to what you're talking about, there is a point when you look at your rosters and you sit there and say, I'm fucking nervous about this price point and the amount of years that I'm on the hook for.
Right.
And somebody else might not be. And so can I gain value on that alone? And just because you gain that value, you won the trade. That's my opinion.
Right.
And because Wayne doesn't he trades enough and he moves enough players and he does, like we talk everything you want about Wayne, man, but that guy, does he trade more than Georgia? He might, man. Did he trade more than Argo? I mean, he's always active. His roster is constantly moving. I looked at his roster. I'm like, that guy's fielding the fucking team, man. Like, as crazy as all that happens, he will take which I did with him with a certain player as well, which is like, I don't like the long contract. I just want to move off of it. And he's like, I'll take the value now. And value now sometimes is better, right? And I think he got that for probably with McKinney, because if he does break out this year in this new defense, which they're saying he probably will, but this is all right? But like, he's going to have a fuck ton of value, right? So it's like, and that long-term contract doesn't matter at that point. So it's like risk management. I like as again, in all trades, like when you always have, especially in this league, cap values that matters so much, and commitment, contract years matter so much, that's always got to be in consideration when we're looking at these trades. If it's all 1 year guys for 1 year guys, then we can analyze it fair, right? When you say like, well, that's that, but being on the hook for guys for a long time when you're not comfortable with their performance or where they're going, or maybe what you're hearing or reading, get the fuck off of them. No problem. Right. If somebody wants to take them, you win. It doesn't matter how it works.
Not every trade has to be someone fucked someone and someone lost. Like sometimes, in my opinion, like
but that's why those trades happen.
A win-win can happen. Like that should be intent of most trades. It shouldn't be this, hey, I'm going to try to win one over on someone here. Like that to me is not good strategy long term, because it leaves sour taste in people's mouths. I continually try to find strong trade partners. Well, yeah, I'm trying to move someone, but I'm honest. I try to understand what they need and how to value. What position they're in, like do your research. It's like fucking outreach and salespeople. I do not need people hitting me up every fucking 5 minutes on LinkedIn and then 2 seconds later fucking selling me some shit. Try to do a little bit of research first, pal. Fucking understand my time's valuable, and if you want it, you better fucking bring something to the table. Otherwise,
you're still bitter about that call. You're so bitter about that call still. You
don't want to know. I'm going to end on this because it's time. I have to wrap it up.
I
asked he goes, most of our warranties, are 3 to 5 years. He's like, he's like, when did you get your thing? I go, I don't know. I was the home. I bought the home from somebody else. He goes, oh, those aren't valid. And I said, wait a second. I go, how long's my warranty? He goes, I don't know. I'd have to look it up. And I go, well, you have the paperwork in front of me. What if I didn't tell you that I bought the house? How did you fucking know the difference? He goes, well, I guess the honor system. I go, okay, it took you 5 days to fucking get a hold of me. How about I call back and fucking try this over again? And tell them I bought the house. Or, that I've had the house for 10 years. Like, it's like the fucking idiots out there. It's like, really? Really, bud?
The idiots. It's just your business doesn't matter anymore.
The system is broken. It's fucking broken. People are not paid well, and they don't give a fuck about their jobs because they can get their money elsewhere.
Companies did analytics, and they said, don't fucking take care of your clients. They'll fucking still come. Fuck them all. That's what analytics is telling people.
Pentair can
and
suck
guess what? It's been right the last 10 years. You get good customer service with a fucking airline. They used to suck your dick to fucking fly.
Well, Delta Dental or Delta's paying people
Dental.
off. They're paying some
sort of celebrity. You got a dental plan?
No, well, I work with Delta Dental a lot. Delta must be paying off celebrities because every podcast I'm listening is ravening. Ryan Russillo, Bill, Smartless. Everybody is talking about how great Delta is. It's interesting, man. It's almost like
but now it's an edge. Now it's an edge. You know why it's been proven it's an edge is not to get into the NFT weird fucking Web3 stuff, but like the structure that's going in the next evolution of the internet, so to say, is going to be where you get to prove your value to the company that you
invest in on a regular basis as a consumer, right? Yeah,
exactly. And like, it's no longer this frequent flyers, and we get it's like, no, man, my shit's here. This is what I do. Do you want me?
Yeah.
Right. It's like, this is my resume.
I'm going to send you out my channels. I'm going to promote you. I'm going to take care of you. And then you're going to give me discounts on my flights because I'm bringing 5 people to your.
It doesn't even matter. It's like, hey, everyone, check it out. I fly this much. Who wants me?
Right.
And it'd be like, dude, I want you. You know, and then so it's interesting. But
that's the way it should be.
That's the way it used to be.
Yeah.
It's the way it used to be. Analytics were right for a period that you didn't need to do that. Customer service died because we were complacent about it. But now we're in a new movement where we're like, I want to be treated like I fucking matter.
Right.
And if
I would gladly spend $100 more
I'm going to spend
on Delta than going to kayak.com if they greeted me when I went up to the ticket counter and say, welcome back, Mr. Han. We're so glad to have you. Can I get you a drink while you wait? Fucking you're goddamn right. You can get me a drink while I wait. You know what I mean? And here's my extra pretzels too. Like, don't fucking treat me like a second-class citizen because I bought a kayak.com fucking, next to the shitter fucking seat on the plane. Like,
well, you are, but that's okay.
I'm not, and I don't do that. Let's be honest here. I'm a jet ski.
I'll buy a kayak all day, baby. They give me $5 off.
Yeah, we know.
Kayak.com. You listening? Fucking get in that algorithm. We'll sponsor us, man. Give us another.
Well, we should have our own. We should have our own another podcast called just Life Rants with Ben and Corey.
Ranting about bullshit. And
I'm way more knowledgeable about that stuff than I am about fantasy football. That's for sure.
We all are.
All right, buddy. I don't know. Last words for the group before the auction. Mine is go hard early, go hard in the paint, and/or go hard late.
We say that every year. Nobody does.
Yeah.
No, I had a good heart-to-heart with our audience, and I just want to say once again, I love you, but go eat shit and die. We're competing, and I'm coming after y'all.
Yep. One last thing, we asked for feedback last time. Starting next week after the auction closes, we're going to do we're going to be looking at each division and ranking the teams like we did last year. We also are sending out special invites to, little subtle flex there. We are reaching out to all the orphans and would love to have you on the show if you're interested. No pressure whatsoever, but we always like to send the invite for those folks first to get to know them a little bit better. Lastly, avoid the goddamn chat, man. We are not all represented by the dirty potty mouth that Georgia tries to be and who he's actually not in person. Just FYI. Love you, Georgia, but fucking A, man. Improve your chat skills. Anything else? I
gotta look at this. It sounds like it's a problem, but I doubt it is.
Well, with your name being Cock and Balls, it's perfect.
All right. Well, I win.
I mean, I don't mind a little medium pace reference, stuff like that. But like, man,
our band's called Medium Pace. Don't fuck around with that shit.
I love medium pace. I can sing that whole damn song right for you now. Yeah. Anyway, spit on my hand and stroke my.
You can't even say it. That's fine.
I don't want to be a hypocrite. All right, guys, we're signing off. We'll be back next week. Good luck at the auction. Thanks, Ben.